was scattered everywhere. A tank was burning like a torch, its cooling system completely destroyed from the intense heat, and the inside had already turned into an oven. Numerous mutated creatures rushed past it, trampling on human civilization, mocking humanity's fragility, and launching attacks on the office building. On the first and second floors of the office building, several fire points were set up, all firing madly at these mutated creatures. According to the infrared thermal radar feedback, there were numerous dense red dots inside the office building, likely survivors protected by the military. The sheer number of overlapping red dots made it impossible to determine the exact quantity on the radar. At that moment, a frenzied howl erupted from one side, as a familiar mutated giant bird from Wang Cheng's past roared out from behind the office building, opening its massive jaws, radiating a red glow. A fiery line shot out instantly, hitting a heavy machine gun position on the second floor of the office building. The moment the fire line struck, it exploded, triggering a chain reaction of military weaponry, blowing the window frames and walls apart. The soldiers in that position didn't even have time to react, perishing instantly in the explosion and flames. However, as they fell, fearless soldiers rushed in from behind, armed and firing wildly. Some of these soldiers were very young, their hands trembling as they gripped their weapons, yet they bravely stood at the collapsed and burning opening of the building, firing at the mutated giant bird. They were determined to defend their line to the death. Wang Cheng noticed that the mutated giant bird also had wounds. Its wings bore numerous bullet holes. Yet those weapons, which could easily kill a human, posed little threat to it and did not inflict any substantial harm. Wang Cheng squinted as he saw them. Indeed, the two mutated giant birds were here. It was a narrow path for enemies. This time, Wang Cheng had no intention of fleeing. He began to accelerate, fixating on the mutated giant bird ahead, directly pursuing it to take it down. Meanwhile, beneath Wang Cheng's warship, missile launchers were rising from the aircraft, and a high-explosive missile was ready to launch. Wang Cheng's arms were already gripping the control stick of the weapon tightly. On the aircraft's operational interface, he began to locate and describe the targeting reticle, which was closely tracking the mutated giant bird. Wang Cheng wanted to seize this opportunity to avenge the blood feud. He intended to take down both of the mutated giant birds that had hunted him down before and offer them as a sacrifice today. However, the two mutated giant birds had also spotted Wang Cheng. They seemed equally surprised by the sudden appearance of this flying behemoth. The one being chased by Wang Cheng flew frantically, while the other circled around from a different direction, preparing to attack him from behind. A warship and two mutated giant birds were engaged in a frenzied chase in the sky, creating a thrilling spectacle. At that moment, amid the chaos, Wang Cheng seized an angle and suddenly opened fire. The 5-meter-long missile, with its cold coating illuminated by the thruster's flames, shot out of the launch bay of his secondary warship like thunder, trailing a long flame as it raced through the sky, pursuing the mutated giant bird. Simultaneously, with the piercing sound of a collision alarm blaring, Wang Cheng abruptly lowered his altitude, diving towards the densely packed crowd of mutated entities on the street below the office building. Behind him, the other mutated giant bird took this opportunity to swoop down, its claws sharp enough to tear through the armor of a light armored vehicle, directly reaching for Wang Cheng's secondary warship. Wang Cheng was confident that this attack wouldn't damage his ship. However, that didn't mean he would choose to take it head-on, regardless of whether he could withstand the attack. Facing it directly might seem impressive, but it was ultimately a foolish act in combat. Any damage would mean consumption. Wang Cheng realized this only after he had his warship. Previously, watching movies and anime, he enjoyed the chaos of mechs and warships colliding and explosions everywhere. Now, his warship was precious to him, and he couldn't allow the mutated giant bird to launch a successful ambush. He dived rapidly and then quickly pulled up. This was actually a high-difficulty maneuver. If he were piloting a real fighter jet, his skills wouldn't be sufficient. Of course, if it were a real fighter jet, he wouldn't be able to maneuver with such agility either. After all, this was his warship. Though it resembled a fighter jet, it was closer to an aircraft. With the assistance of the intelligent operating system, the complex maneuver became much more manageable. Thus, Wang Cheng executed the dive and pull-up maneuver effortlessly, showcasing both elegance and sharpness. At the same time, as he lifted his head, he witnessed a brilliant explosion in the sky. The missile had detonated. The rising flames even illuminated one side of the office building, making the entire street as bright as day. Inside the office building, countless military personnel looked up in astonishment. Zhang Ruizhen looked at the scene in astonishment. His aide whispered, "That recent dive and pull-up maneuver is not something an ordinary pilot can achieve. I didn't see any other fighter jets. This is an independent mission. Who is he from in our combat zone? Also, I've never seen this model of fighter jet before. Could it be a test aircraft?" The aide was filled with surprise, and in that brief moment, countless speculations arose. However, Zhang Ruizhen just stared intently at the sky, remaining silent and showing no intention of responding. This was because the missile just launched by Wang Chung had missed its target. The mutated giant bird was too agile. Despite Wang Chung finding a tricky angle in an attempt to ensure a hit and conserve precious missiles, he still failed. At the critical moment when it was about to be hit, the creature ascended sharply and released a fiery blast. The missile, detonating in midair, illuminated the entire twisted, crimson body of the mutated giant bird, resembling a phoenix reborn from the flames, its terrifying screech shaking the battlefield. Many soldiers and survivors displayed expressions of disappointment and regret. They desperately hoped that Wang Chung could take down the mutated giant bird in one strike. Although they had no idea where the sleek black fighter jet had come from. It was undoubtedly piloted by humans, and they believed it was there to assist them, so they naturally thought Wang Chung would succeed. Damn it! Wang Cheng's ammunition bay was instantly depleted. The complexity of aerial combat was far from simple. Wang Cheng took a deep breath and decisively commanded, "System, expend 20 energy points to replenish the missile launcher's ammunition." "Dear host, do you confirm?" "Confirm. 20 energy points have been deducted. You have 2 energy points remaining. Required energy is now in place. Weapon system ammunition is being 3D printed. Current progress, 15. Estimated time remaining, 7 seconds. So this is 3D printing technology?" Wang Cheng's heart stirred, but 7 seconds felt critical in this tense battle. At that moment, another giant bird turned sharply from a different direction, evading the concentrated fire from the office warriors, its agility and speed leaving the bullets behind. It opened its massive jaws and shot a fiery blast directly at Wang Cheng's battleship. However, Wang Cheng made another astonishing move. He dodged like lightning, dangerously lowering his altitude to skim the ground, avoiding the terrifying fire from the mutated giant bird. He arced across the battlefield, nearly colliding with an office building. The aide was astonished. Does he dare to fly like that? If those mutated beings are warriors like us, they would have shot him down by now. The aide's voice abruptly ceased as Wang Cheng, flying close to the ground, suddenly leaped up again, his sleek black battleship crashing through the fiery aftermath of an exploding missile. Sparks streamed along the dark wings and hull. Wang Cheng's battleship was sharp as a sword, like a bolt of black lightning, soaring into the sky and swiftly approaching the mutated giant bird that had just evaded a missile. The battleship and the mutated giant bird drew closer in an instant. The second missile, also printed by the city after exhausting its energy points, whizzed out. He had lowered his altitude just now to gain those 7 precious seconds. Now, the city fired directly at close range. "Since you are so agile and can dodge my missiles, I will close the distance infinitely and see if you still have the time and space to evade." It was an incredibly thrilling scene as the missile shot out, almost exploding right in front of them. The blazing fire immediately engulfed the sky, raising the hearts of countless onlookers in the office. Until the next moment, the mutated giant bird's body shattered and fell, burning, while the dark battleship of the city burst through the flames, roaring through the sky. A faint cheer erupted from the office. "How else can we fight if we don't fly like this?" Zhang Rui's hen, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. His eyes filled with excitement. His hands were already clenched into fists from tension. He knew they had hope. "Damn, amazing. Which unit are these people from? We are saved." Chapter 58, Revenge. Inside the office building, many military personnel and survivors became excited. Initially, they had felt despair as monsters surrounded the building and mutated giant birds lurked. But now, this fighter jet tearing through the battlefield was undoubtedly a powerful morale booster. Moreover, with one giant bird killed and the other attracted by the city's battleship, the pressure on the office building lessened significantly. The military personnel no longer had to worry about being attacked by the mutated birds and could unleash their firepower, fiercely resisting the relentless assaults of the mutated entities below. These mutated entities, although strong and threatening to ordinary people, posed little threat under the concentrated fire of the military. Especially with the military holding their ground and firing madly, the mutated entities fell like wheat being cut down. Under Zhang Rui's command, they began to regain control and even showed signs of a counterattack. However, Zhang Rui's hen was well aware that whether they could truly break out depended on whether the unfamiliar model of the battleship could take down the other mutated giant bird. Therefore, he kept a close watch on the battlefield above, sweating for the pilot engaged in low-altitude combat. The city was indeed locked in battle with the other mutated giant bird. After slaying one, the last remaining giant bird let out a mournful scream, its voice filled with sorrow and panic. In contrast, its attacks against the city grew increasingly frenzied as it desperately pursued. It seemed to possess more intelligence and emotion than ordinary mutated entities, as it had companions and family, just as the humans it had killed did. A fierce determination shone in the city's eyes. These 2 mutated giant birds had chased him relentlessly, even causing him to become separated from Su Xinghai and Zhang Chao during a panic-stricken escape. After enduring for so long, the tides had turned. And now that he had the chance for revenge, The city would not let this opportunity